Thank you and welcome to the show for today. You are watching Perspectives and I am host Alana McLaughlin. My guest this morning is Corletra Mance, who is here to discuss her life, her work, and ultimately the impact that she seeks to have on Nashville. And I just honestly just want to start off this first segment I am just tongue-tied by talking about baby Corletra years. Okay. I know that you're from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Tell me a little bit about that childhood, about that upbringing, and just what life looked like for you, kind of in elementary school, just as a kid.
All right. Well, yes. Well, thank you for having me. And so to start off, I was actually born. I say I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I was born in Memphis. We were there for a couple of years, and then we moved to Chattanooga. So, of course, I did all of my schooling there in Chattanooga, and that's what I remember. At the age of 5, early on, I knew that I wanted to be an attorney. And people were like, well, how did you know that? And I used to tell my mother, I am tired of seeing black men get arrested, and I wanted to defend them. So from the age of 5 on, I knew that I'm going to go to law school, and my whole mission in life was we're gonna defend black men, we're gonna defend their honor, and I'm gonna keep them out of jail. So
now let me interject. I have to ask, where did this powerful idea come from? And tell me a little bit just about your parents or whoever was just around you influencing you at that early age.
Well, TV.
Yeah.
Because all I saw on TV was black men getting arrested.
Yeah.
And my parents are both from, my father's from West Tennessee, Trenton. My mother's from Arkansas. They grew up on the farm. Okay, they didn't grow up in the city. They grew up picking cotton. So they grew up working hard and knowing that you have to work hard to get anywhere. But even, of course, back then in their time, working hard didn't really even get them anywhere. You know, it was the persistency. And so from that, and just pushing us from an early age, I have a brother, so it's 2 of us, pushing us from an early age to know, like, you're not going to be given anything. We're not going to give you anything. You're going to work for it. So that's really where it came from.
Now take me through high school. Take me through where you graduated from, kind of the selecting a school for undergrad, and that'll eventually lead into law school. But just tell me about high school.
Yes, high school was great. I went to a boarding high school called Baylor there in Chattanooga. So I was a day student because we lived in Chattanooga. However, a lot of my friends were boarders. So it was a college preparatory school, and through that process, I also ran track. So I was an athlete, and then Baylor is highly focused on your academics. The reason, and speaking of, so once I graduated high school, well, not graduated, but right before, I knew I wanted to run track in college, and I had some offers. Didn't take. I got offered a scholarship to run at Syracuse. Didn't want to go up there because they told me I wouldn't see the ground until it was June from the snow, and I was like, that's not going to work. So it was probably April, and I still didn't know where I was going to college. My high school track coach was like, why don't you look at Rhodes College? It's very similar to Baylor. It's bigger, but we also run against bigger schools, or they run against bigger schools. So I literally went down there, loved it. It was in Memphis, still had a lot of family there. So I ended up going to Rhodes College. And when I say I decided I was going in May, and then, you know, they ship you off early because track is year round. So we were already in track practice probably the end of July, beginning of August.
So you didn't have time to breathe, really?
No.
And tell me about just how Rhodes impacted you and how it kind of led you to law school.
Yes. So Rhodes is a liberal arts college. However, they have a great political science program, which is what I majored in. They didn't have a pre-law per se, but political science was the same thing. And so I once again, I knew early on which way I was going. They were very good about my advisors being people in that field once they knew which way you wanted to go. And my professors really honed in, worked with me, got me prepared, let me know, hey, this is what you need to do for law school as far as the LSAT. I took it 2 times, right? Because they were like, hey, your score is okay, but if you're trying to get a scholarship or get into some of the higher, more top tier schools, then you need to take it again.
Now, did you have to pay for it both times, or did the school?
I'm trying to remember. I believe I had to pay. I
Because
believe
that's a barrier in itself.
It is. And now things are way more competitive than they were then. But I believe the second time, actually I know the second time I had to pay. Maybe not the first, but the second time I did have to pay. I took a class the second time as well. So I would literally go to class, go to track practice, leave school because the class wasn't on campus, go to the LSAT class, and then, back on campus.
And then still have to think about homework, dinner,
Yes.
a social life.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly, yes.
But I want to talk about how these years just kind of prepared you for UT School of Law, and ultimately how it's kind of brought you down to Nashville and the work that you're doing in Davidson County. I encourage our viewers to tune into the second segment of Perspectives, where Corletra and I will return to discuss who she is, the work that she's done in Tennessee, and the impact that she seeks to leave on Nashville. Welcome to the second segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I'm host Alana McLaughlin. You are watching Perspectives. This morning, my guest is Corletra Mance, and she's discussing her life, her work, and ultimately the impact that she seeks to leave on Nashville. In our first segment, we set up just early years of living. We set up experiences in Memphis, Tennessee, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we left off talking about her undergraduate experiences at Rhodes College, leading further to her experiences at UT School of Law, which is where we're going to pick up right now.
Okay.
What inspired you to choose UT? Tell me the Knoxville experience. Do you bleed orange?
So, look, yes. So I'm Tennessee bred through and through, clearly. So when I was at Rhodes, and I knew I wanted to, so University of Tennessee is an ABA accredited law school. What that means is you can practice in other states with a degree from University of Tennessee. Some law schools are not ABA, so you have to stay right there in that state. So anyways, I knew I wanted to go to an ABA law school, I knew also I didn't want to leave too far from home.
Yeah.
However, and University of Tennessee had a great track record. So I buckled down, worked on my LSAT scores, got those up, ended up getting a scholarship that covered 90% of my tuition there in law school. So luckily I only had to take out one Stafford loan and didn't use all of that. So I was able to use some of that to pay it back.
Heck yeah.
But so that is one of the reasons I went to University of Tennessee. And I didn't really know too many people from there, but I knew they had a good track record. My father went to the medical school, so he was on board for me going to the law school there in Knoxville.
And tell me about your experiences. What did you learn about yourself throughout that period? What did you learn just kind of about the state of Black male incarceration rates? Did it kind of help you kind of focus in on your goal? What did you experience?
Right. So so law school in general, right? That first semester is what they call a weed out course. So the professor tells you, look to your left, look to your right, someone's not going to be there. So you come back that second semester, that first year, and literally it's dwindled down tremendously. And so one thing that law school taught me, you have to be resilient. You cannot have thin skin. It's got to be thick, because the professors are there law school's theory. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were asking about like the incarceration rates, those types of things, you learn theory in law school. You don't actually learn how to practice. When you get out of law school and actually get into the field, or if you do an internship. Yeah. Okay. That's where you learn how to practice, how to work with people, how people think, how the other side thinks. Because of course, I'm going in wanting to be a criminal defense attorney to defend these Black men so that they aren't incarcerated. However, law school, in my opinion, if we had to go back and do it all over again, like medical school, they really need a residency program. Yeah. However, you can intern. So one thing about it though, from my undergrad, running track, and then getting to law school, one thing that Rhodes prepared me for was the long nights, the long study nights, being able to balance your social life as well as, studying, because that was a big deal. We did have times, and I will say law school was good about presenting and hosting an event weekly for the law students just to relax and kick back. But and even getting into the real world. When you get out, once again, you got to be resilient, you got to be persistent, you got to be consistent.
Yes.
Because I actually graduated in 2008, and our professors told us you all picked one of the worst years to graduate because we were in a recession. So, and there weren't a lot of jobs. So unless you were in the top of your class and got picked by a law firm, you were just kind of, hey, figuring it out. And so I ended up moving to Nashville after law school. Because literally I was only sitting in Tennessee I had lived in. So major city. So I picked Nashville, it was in the middle. It wasn't Chattanooga, it wasn't Memphis. So moved here. I had one relative, didn't know anyone, and went from there. So it just started building my career. Like I said, there weren't really any law positions. So I actually worked at Bricktops. I had a law degree. The general manager was like, you have a law degree and you're working as a host and a server. I said, yes, because I got to make money.
Yeah.
I can't just be sitting here.
Yes.
But I was constantly applying, and I finally got on with the state of Tennessee. So that was the beginning of my, I guess, professional law career, was working for the state.
How long between graduation and finally working with the state? How long was that?
Let's see, I moved here in July of 2008, maybe May of 2008. I didn't get a job. I didn't get a job at Bricktops until January of 2009. And then I worked there for about a year, so 2010.
Man,
2010.
And I'm so glad that you just said that, because I mean, that's the honesty that we need.
Yep.
That is,
So,
but it's admirable because you truly understand the community you serve.
yes.
You have been right
Yes.
there with us.
And I hear that a lot. They're like, you're so personable, down to earth person. I'm like, well, I've worked, everyone thinks, oh, she's an attorney. She's only done, oh no, I was just looking for work. So, and it was a great experience. It was also great to get to know people, because when I did get into the legal field, you understand more what people are going through, because not everyone's from the same economic background. Everyone's upbringing was different, and 2008 Nashville and 2026 Nashville are different. They're constantly changing. And my understanding is 2008 Nashville wasn't what it was before then, right? It had been a lot of changes. So it's being able to pivot and learn how to work with people. So,
And Lord, how do I say this? Tell me about like the first 6 months of your first professional job. You mentioned that you kind of learned the theory in school, but putting it into application, you really just had to like crash and burn.
correct.
And tell me about that's scary. That's terrifying.
It is very scary. I had a mentor tell me, remember the phrase law practice. It is the practice of law. Okay, so you're constantly learning. So yes, I'm thrown out there, and they train you, on what you're supposed to do. But when you are dealing with people, and I was in the 10 care unit for the state of Tennessee, and having to actually interact with real people. It's one thing if you're just dealing with numbers or paperwork, but you're having to interact with people, and no one can teach you, because everyone's different, how to interact and how to approach each person.
And I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to say for our third segment, just how you've just learned to deal with people, what you've learned, and how you're applying it to your current campaign, and just how it's impacting Nashville. I want to save that for our third segment, but I encourage viewers to tune in to this final segment to hear Corletra's story, to hear the work that she's doing, the work that she seeks to achieve here in town, and ways that we can support her. To the final segment of the show for today. For viewers just tuning in, I am host Alana McLaughlin, and you are watching Perspectives. This morning I've had Corletra Mance, attorney Corletra Mance, here discussing her background, her life, the work that she's done across Tennessee. And in this final segment, we're talking about just current career, current work, current dreams and aspirations, specifically those involving Davidson County, and ways that we can support her in her endeavors. We have just set up a beautiful, beautiful experience. We have gone from Memphis to Chattanooga, back to Memphis, to Knoxville, to Bricktops, and now we kind of left off just talking about your first professional job. You were working for the state of Tennessee, specifically in the TennCare division, and we were just having the conversation of learning to deal with people.
Yes.
And I want to just pick back up where we left off about what you learned in that experience and how it's just kind of prepared you for the role of judge and just kind of for this current campaign.
All right. Yeah. So I will say this briefly as far as that first position, learning how to deal with people. The most important thing I learned is patience. You have got to listen to what people are saying. And not always just sit up there and have the answer right off bat. That leads into my private practice. So I've been in private practice now for over 10 years. I do a lot of family law, divorces, child support, child custody, orders of protection. I do criminal law. I do probate, that's wills and estates. I also do immigration law, and I do personal injury, right? So I'm a general practitioner. And one thing that I can say, being in the real world and then coming into private practice and still dealing with people, number one thing is patience and listening to them, because everybody's situation, no matter how many people I may have talked to and helped, some things are going to be a little different, okay? And so you have to be able to think outside the box. And that's one thing that I am passionate about, and the reason that I'm running for a Third Circuit Court judge here in Davidson County is because Davidson County has changed so much. In 2026, there's so many different ethnicities, cultures, races, economic backgrounds. So not one system, not one family dynamic is going to work for everybody. You got to think outside the box and do what's going to be best for that particular family. And being that I've done so many areas and practiced in so many areas, I've used those. I'm in a unique position to use some of that thinking to apply that to the family law court. Because, this is not a cookie cutter system. You got to be able to pivot, and you have to think outside the box. Diversify, right? Davidson County is very diverse, and you need someone in that seat that's going to be able to think just as diverse. So that's one of the reasons I'm running, because I can bring that unique perspective to that seat.
And I think also you bring a very youthfulness to.
Thank you.
I apologize in advance to any attorney or judge watching this, but seriously, to just young voters, especially young Black voters, we want someone who seems relatable, who seems fun, and I love just like the little campaign events you've been having and your visibility. What actually inspired me to find you was another interview that you had done, a local podcast. And I remember saying to myself, like, wow, I have never seen a professional, an attorney or a judge going through these platforms, talking to people really just on the ground. You usually expect these events to maybe take place at Meharry, at Fisk, in a ballroom, very quiet, black suit, white tie. And this has been just a breath of fresh air. I'm 23, so I haven't seen everything in Nashville, but just being able to just watch this campaign unfold, it was just really interesting. And I want to talk about that method of reaching out to people. What was your intention behind just going to these urban and independent platforms and like getting your story out?
And getting because here's the thing, our younger demographic, you all are smart and you have a lot to say, and I feel like you're constantly overlooked. And because of that, I think that a lot of times it's like, well, they're not going to listen to me anyway, so
why say it?
Why get involved? Why vote? And I wanted to tap into that group, and that particular podcast, I believe it was What Sleeps TV. The gentleman who was interviewing me, it was so much, and they were so thankful that someone had taken an interest in their demographic to learn what they think, their thoughts, and to also educate them. They ended up coming to my campaign kickoff and are excited about learning. So my perspective is to really get the younger generation involved, get the young Black generation involved, and I want to educate everyone, but on the fact that these local elections, you all are voting for these judges. You vote for them in local elections. So if you don't like someone who's sitting in that seat, a lot of people think they're just appointed. No, you actually go and vote for them. And this is a county-wide race. And I want more young people to get involved, because at the end of the day, you all are the ones who are coming up, right? These laws and things are going to be affecting you all, because the older generations will be gone. Yeah. So, you know, things need to be in place that are going to fit you all and the generations that are coming up. So one of my goals is to really generate motivation and excitement amongst the younger voters, and to get them out there to vote. So yes, I am definitely tapping in to that younger group. And
it's been awesome. Yeah. I know everybody's like been reposting little clips, and I'm like, what the heck? You rarely see, seriously, just anyone just from just the court or just, you know, involved. Talking to the people that they serve outside of the courtroom, outside of the docket, you know? And it truly gives a much more, it creates a much more comfortable relationship with young Black Nashvillians and our courts. I think,
I would say, because already, I mean, let's be honest, young Black men hate going to court. I don't care if it's civil, criminal, they don't want to go to court, because their interaction with the judge is unfortunately typically negative. They are scared to go. I am of the opinion that, yes, am I going to apply Tennessee law and do what I have to do and abide by those laws? Yes, but at the same time, I want people to be able to come in the courtroom, feel comfortable, and know that, okay, she's actually going to listen, give me an opportunity to express my side before just making an assumption. There needs to be that comfort level there, and that's what I want to bring.
And I think that it just really, it speaks volumes that you care so much about the little guys, because like you said, that population is really often overlooked, and we really get the brunt of it in court. And I say we just as young Black people in general. And I want you to now just kind of plug in where people can vote, when voting begins, and how people can seriously support you on the ground.
Okay, so early voting is April 15th through April 30th. And so with early voting, you can go any early voting election site you can go to and vote. Any election poll that's open for early voting. Now, on election day, which is May 5th, aka Cinco de Mayo, you have to go to the voting site where you're actually registered. So that's something else. Make sure you're registered to vote. Okay, the easiest way to do it is to go online, Google how to register to vote in Davidson County. It will prompt you through the links. It's a very simple process. You can find me. Of course, I have a website, manceforjudge.com. You can learn more about me. I'm on Instagram, Vote Mance. I do have the blue check. And then I'm also on Facebook, and it's Corletra Mance with the blue check. So those are the avenues where you can reach out to me. I like to think of myself as being very personable. So if you DM me, I will try to respond as quick as possible.
And thank you. And I don't mean to interrupt you at all, but thank you just for being accessible. Thank you for caring about the little guys, and thank you for the work that you're doing. You are an amazing woman, and I have amazing viewers that I thank for tuning in one more morning. I wish you a good morning.